Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something important, especially as we navigate the years after 60, optimizing your nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Our source material for this deep dive suggests, well, that the foods you might have relied on when you were younger, they might not be doing you the same favors now.
That's exactly right.
Could even be contributing to things like inflammation, maybe those unhelpful sugar spikes.
Yeah, the source we're looking at is a video transcript from Healthy Aging Hub.
Mm-hmm.
And they've zeroed in on 8 specific foods.
Okay.
Foods they highlight as having, well, virtually no carbs and no sugar. And they focus specifically on how these benefit the aging body.
Supporting what? Like key areas?
Exactly. The heart, muscles, brain function, and crucially, helping manage blood sugar levels.
You know, I have to say, the source made a really interesting claim early on, sort of caught my eye.
Oh, yeah? What was that?
They teased that one of these foods, number 3 on their list, apparently has been, and I quote, quietly helping seniors avoid blood pressure medication.
Oh.
And that you just don't hear much about it. That's the kind of detail that makes you, pay attention.
It absolutely does. That's a strong claim. So our mission today in this deep dive is to really unpack the most important insights from this source.
Right.
We want to look at why these foods are singled out and how, according to this perspective, they might actually help support your energy, your circulation, your overall independence as you age.
So the goal is helping you become really well-informed on this particular approach.
Exactly. Informed about what this source is suggesting for aging nutrition.
Okay, let's jump right in then. Where does the source actually start with this list of power foods for folks over 60?
They begin with leafy greens. So think spinach, kale, Swiss chard, that kind of thing.
The usual suspects, but why specifically?
Well, the core message here is their nutrient density without the carbs and sugar. We're talking virtually zero of both.
Really? Zero?
Practically. A cup of raw spinach, for instance, the source says, is just about 1 gram of carbs, and that's mostly fiber, almost no sugar at all.
And packed with vitamins, I assume.
Oh, absolutely packed. Vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin K.
Yeah.
The source points to all of these as being really crucial as you get older.
Okay, can you break that down?
Yeah.
Like A, C, K, what do they do?
Sure. So vitamin A for supporting your immune system. Vitamin C is highlighted for cell repair. And vitamin K, this one's particularly emphasized for bone strength, which becomes more critical.
Right.
The source argues these greens help your body recover better, protect your arteries, and might even play a role in slowing down cellular aging. They specifically link them to supporting muscle maintenance and memory function too.
Wow, that's a lot from just leaves.
It is. And this is where those little anecdotes from the source really help illustrate the point.
Yeah, tell me about that.
They share an example of a woman named Margaret, 68. She felt, constantly bloated, sluggish, just chalked it up to getting older.
Common feeling, probably.
Very common.
Yeah.
But she swapped her usual lunch, which was heavy on processed carbs, for a simple spinach salad. Just spinach, olive oil, a boiled egg. The change, according to the source, was pretty striking. Within just 2 weeks, she reported feeling lighter, her thinking felt clearer, and she even noticed less joint discomfort. And the source makes a point. It wasn't about some strict punishing diet. It was about a smart replacement.
Replacing the carbs with the greens.
Exactly. And they offer a practical tip too. Just start your meal with greens.
How so?
Like have a cup of raw spinach before you eat your main course for lunch or dinner. Or maybe gently saute some kale and olive oil.
Why start with them?
The claim is this helps sort of front load your meal with fiber and nutrients. And that can lead to better blood sugar stability and more consistent energy through the day. This is especially relevant as, insulin sensitivity can change as we age.
Okay, so reflecting on that, if you're listening and thinking about your own energy or how you feel after eating, maybe this perspective suggests adding something simple, like just a handful of greens, could actually make a noticeable difference.
It's about those small shifts. Now, from leafy greens, the source moves on to another category of vegetables. They call these ones humble yet transformative.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Humble. We're talking about things like broccoli, cauliflower, that kind of stuff?
You got it. Precisely. Their power, according to this source, comes from being naturally low in carbohydrates, having no sugar at all, but being loaded with fiber.
And that fiber piece, we just touched on it, but it's really key, isn't it? Especially for managing blood sugar as we get older.
Absolutely crucial. The source explains that because insulin sensitivity can decline after 60, fiber is vital. It slows down digestion.
Meaning,
Meaning any natural sugars in your food or sugars from other foods you eat with them get released into your bloodstream much more gently. You avoid those sharp spikes.
right, the spikes that lead to crashes and maybe longer-term issues.
Exactly. So these vegetables fill you up, make you feel satisfied, but without messing with your glucose levels in a negative way.
Is there another story here, like with Margaret?
Yes, there's one about Harold, who's 72. He was dealing with stiff joints, low energy, mornings were tough. His wife started roasting broccoli and cauliflower a few times a week. Just simple preparation, nothing fancy.
Okay. What happened?
Within about a month, he apparently noticed he was moving faster, his knees ached less, and here's the kicker.
Yeah.
His blood pressure had actually dropped a few points at his next doctor's visit.
Wow, just from adding roasted veggies.
That's the story. And the source points out he didn't feel like he was dieting or being deprived at all.
That's key, isn't it? Feeling like you can stick with it.
Absolutely. So the practical tip here is pretty achievable. Aim for about 1 cup daily, maybe roasted or steamed. Keep it simple: garlic, olive oil, maybe a squeeze of lemon. Consistency is the main thing.
That story about Harold is really compelling. It makes you think, doesn't it? How these, seemingly small, consistent additions of vegetables like broccoli or cauliflower could maybe help with things you might be dealing with yourself, like joint stiffness, those energy dips, or even helping support your heart health.
It suggests potential links, definitely. Now, shifting gears a bit, the source takes us from the garden plot to the sea for the next food.
Ah, okay. Is this the one you mentioned earlier, the one linked to that intriguing blood pressure claim?
This is the one: fatty fish. Think salmon, mackerel, sardines.
Gotcha. So what's the common thread there?
Well, besides tasting good, they have zero carbs, and they are incredibly rich in omega-3 fatty acids.
Omega-3s, everyone talks about those. Anti-inflammatory, right?
That's the big connection the source makes. They argue that omega-3s are crucial for calming that chronic low-level inflammation.
The kind that does damage over time.
Exactly. The kind they believe damages blood vessels, contributes to stiff joints, and can even accelerate cognitive decline or memory loss as we age.
So by reducing that inflammation.
By reducing it, fatty fish are presented as providing really significant support for your brain health, your heart function, and ultimately helping maintain your independence.
And this is where that blood pressure connection comes in specifically.
Yes, the source directly links the anti-inflammatory effect of omega-3s on blood vessels to supporting healthy blood pressure. The idea is they help keep arteries flexible and functioning well, potentially reducing the need for medication for some people. That's the claim.
Okay, so it's not just vague heart health. It's a specific mechanism they're pointing to for blood pressure and artery health.
That's their argument. And they do reference research. They mention a Harvard study suggesting that seniors who had higher omega-3 intake showed sharper thinking, better heart function, and a lower risk of cognitive decline.
Interesting. Is there an anecdote for fish too?
Yes. There's Helen, 73. She was getting worried about becoming more forgetful, having those senior moments, as she called them. She started adding salmon to her diet twice a week. Again, simple preparation, baked with lemon and dill.
And the result?
Within a couple of months, she reported having fewer of those moments, feeling more mentally clear, and even noticed her mood felt more stable.
That's encouraging.
It is. And the practical advice is straightforward. Just try to make fatty fish a regular part of your meals. They even note that canned wild salmon is a good, convenient option. Maybe just add some olive oil and lemon to it.
Thinking about that direct link the source makes to blood pressure and brain health, those are big concerns for many people as they age. Does adding fatty fish feel maybe more doable when framed like that? It's a specific action tied to potentially big benefits.
It puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's move on. The next food is a breakfast staple. One the source says has been, kind of unfairly criticized in the past.
Oh, I think I know this one. Eggs. The whole cholesterol debate.
That's the one. The source acknowledges that history, but argues that eggs are actually fantastic for seniors, especially if you're focusing on controlling blood sugar and keeping your mind sharp.
Why specifically?
Well, they contain less than 1 gram of carbs, basically no sugar, but they're packed with high-quality protein.
And it's not just the protein, right? The source mentioned other nutrients.
Yes, they really focus on 2, choline and lutein.
Okay, what's important about those?
The source stresses that choline is essential for memory and overall brain health. It actively supports the cells involved in thinking and remembering.
And lutein.
Lutein is singled out for protecting the eyes. specifically mentioning its role in guarding against age-related vision loss, like macular degeneration.
Wow, so brain and eyes.
Brain and eyes. Plus, eggs are presented as being great for blood sugar control, help you stay mentally sharp, and they're affordable and generally easy to digest too. Lots of pluses.
Is there a story for eggs?
There is. Claire, 63. Her pattern was skipping breakfast or just grabbing toast.
Uh-oh, I know where this is going.
Yeah, the classic result. Energy crash, feeling foggy, even getting shaky hands by mid-morning.
Been there.
So her doctor suggested a simple switch. 2 boiled eggs and half an avocado for breakfast.
Big difference.
Apparently remarkable. She felt sharper, more balanced, steadier throughout the morning, no crash, and, as the source points out, it actually costs less than her usual coffee shop muffin.
That's a great point, too.
So the tip is easy. However you like them, scrambled, poached, boiled, enjoy eggs. Maybe pair them with healthy fats like that avocado or some greens for a really complete blood sugar-friendly start to the day.
You know, if you're someone who struggles with that mid-morning slump or focus issues, Claire's story really hits home. It makes you wonder, could a simple change like starting your day with protein and nutrients like that actually prevent those crashes and help you feel more stable and sharp?
It suggests it's worth considering. Okay, transitioning from main meals, the source next takes a look at smart choices for snacking.
Ah, yes, the snack attack. Especially that infamous 3 p.m. energy dip. We often reach for the wrong things then, don't we?
We absolutely do. The source warns against those common culprits. Cookies, crackers, granola bars.
Why? Too much sugar.
Loaded with sugar and refined carbs, they say, which almost guarantees that blood sugar spike followed by a crash, often right when you're feeling vulnerable in the afternoon.
So what's the alternative they suggest?
They present nuts and seeds as the perfect swap. Things like almonds, walnuts, pumpkin seeds, chia seeds.
What makes them better?
Low in carbs, low in sugar, but high in protein, healthy fats, and also magnesium.
Okay, how do those components help aging bodies specifically?
Well, the source says this combination provides stable, lasting energy, so you avoid the crash. They also link these snacks to supporting bone density and healthy nerve function.
Interesting.
And they make a specific point about reducing silent inflammation, which they identify as a major reason for fatigue in older adults. Oh, and the magnesium, highlighted as potentially helping with nighttime leg cramps.
Leg cramps. That's a common complaint. Is there an anecdote here?
Yep, features Tony, who is 70 and retired. He used to rely on oatmeal cookies for an energy boost in the afternoon.
But it didn't last.
Nope, he felt completely wiped out by dinner time. So he switched. Started having just a small handful of almonds, or sometimes a cup of chia pudding.
And the change?
The source reports no more energy crashes for him, his cravings went away, and he even noticed fewer leg cramps at night.
Just from changing a snack.
That's the suggestion. The practical tips include just keeping a small bag of unsalted almonds handy, or soaking chia seeds overnight in almond milk makes an easy dessert or snack.
It makes you think about your own habits, doesn't it? Especially that afternoon slump. Could swapping out that sugary snack for something like almonds or chia seeds be that simple change? The source suggests it could help stabilize energy, manage cravings, maybe even ease those leg cramps. Small swap, potentially big impact.
It's food for thought, definitely. Okay, next up, the source introduces a food that, like eggs, was maybe avoided by some in the past, but is now recognized for its benefits, especially for older adults.
Let me guess. Avocados. Feels like they had a similar journey from bad fat to good fat.
You nailed it. Avocados. The source points out that, yeah, many seniors might still be wary because of that old all fat is bad message, which they clearly label as outdated thinking.
So what's good about them now?
They highlight avocados as being incredibly rich in monounsaturated fats.
Those are the heart-healthy ones, yeah.
Exactly. The source emphasizes these fats don't just protect the heart, they also improve insulin sensitivity, which, as we've discussed, is really helpful for blood sugar regulation as you age.
And they're low carb, too.
Very low in net carbs because they're so high in fiber. Virtually no sugar either.
So that combo healthy fat and fiber means they digest slowly, keep you feeling full longer, and don't spike your blood sugar?
That's the key takeaway. The source frames avocados as a real powerhouse for both brain and heart health, keeping you satisfied and your blood sugar nice and stable.
Is there a story for avocados? I feel like people either love them or avoid them.
There is. Joanne, 66. She was firmly in the avoid camp for decades. But her nutritionist explained the science, the benefits of those healthy fats.
So she gave them a try.
She decided to add just half an avocado to her lunch salad each day.
And what did she notice?
Within weeks, she reported feeling satisfied for much longer after lunch. Found she wasn't reaching for snacks nearly as much between meals.
That's a win right there.
It is. And at her next checkup, her cholesterol numbers had actually improved, lower LDL, the bad kind, and higher HDL, the good kind, all without needing new medications or going on some drastic diet.
Wow, just adding avocado.
Seems like it. The practical ways to eat them are easy, right? Slice it onto eggs, add it to salads, put it on grilled veggies, or mash it up with lime, garlic, salt for a quick guacamole or spread.
Joanne's story really makes you think. If you've maybe been avoiding healthy fats like those in avocados because of old advice, could reconsidering them unlock some similar benefits? Better heart health markers, feeling more satisfied? Seems worth exploring.
It challenges some old assumptions. Okay, moving along, the seventh food is actually a liquid, a staple often overlooked, but the source presents it as a kind of healing food, especially for the heart.
Has to be olive oil.
Olive oil, it is. The source describes it as simple, yet really powerful. Naturally, it's sugar-free and carb-free.
And full of healthy fats, like avocados.
Packed with those healthy monounsaturated fats, yes. But it also contains potent antioxidants. They specifically call out one named oleocanthal.
Oleocanthal, that sounds sciencey. What does the source say it does?
They actually describe it as acting like nature's ibuprofen.
Really? Like an anti-inflammatory?
Exactly. Highlighting its role in fighting inflammation throughout the body.
So the benefits for aging adults are again about protecting the heart and supporting memory, maybe like fatty fish, but working differently.
That's the idea. Olive oil helps protect the heart through those healthy fats and its anti-inflammatory action. And the source links these effects to supporting cognitive function as well.
Do they mention any studies?
They do. They specifically mention research published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology that linked regular olive oil intake with a lower risk of stroke and cognitive decline in older adults. They also emphasize, it's a cornerstone of the Mediterranean diet, which is widely associated with longevity.
Makes sense. Is there an anecdote for olive oil?
Yes, about Ellen Abor, who is 71. She made a simple switch. She stopped using margarine and butter and started using olive oil instead.
How did she use it?
Drizzling it on cooked vegetables, adding it to salads, using it for scrambled eggs. Pretty basic swaps.
And what did she notice?
Within weeks, she reported feeling noticeably lighter, less kind of swollen or puffy, and her doctor actually confirmed her blood pressure had dropped a few points.
Again, small change, real results.
That's the theme the source keeps returning to. And the practical tip is simple, but could be impactful. Just use high-quality olive oil as your main cooking fat, and for finishing dishes, swap it in wherever you might currently use less healthy fats.
Eleanor's story is a great little reminder, isn't it? Maybe consider making that swap in your own kitchen. If olive oil is presented as such a foundational part of diets linked to long-term health and brain function, it seems like an easy, positive change to make.
It's definitely one of the easier swaps. Okay, finally, the source introduces the eighth food. And this one, they acknowledge, often sparks some debate.
Ooh, okay. Controversial finish. What is it? I bet it's cheese. People argue about cheese all the time.
You guessed it, cheese. It definitely gets a mixed reaction sometimes.
Yeah, too fatty, too salty. You hear that a lot.
Right. The source acknowledges those concerns. However, they argue that for seniors who are specifically trying to cut back on carbs and sugar, cheese can actually be a surprisingly smart addition.
Really? How do they make that case?
Well, most cheeses have virtually no sugar and are very low in carbohydrates. But importantly, they're high in protein, and they're a fantastic source of calcium.
Ah, calcium. Obviously vital for bone strength as we get older, right? To help prevent fractures.
Absolutely crucial. And the source points out that the combination of protein and fat in cheese is incredibly satisfying.
Meaning it helps you feel full.
Exactly. Helps you feel full, which reduces the likelihood you'll reach for those less healthy processed snacks that are high in sugar and refined carbs. So it's presented as a way to manage cravings without feeling like you're missing out.
Okay, that makes sense. Is there a final anecdote for cheese?
There is. Helen, 74. She had gotten into a habit of snacking on crackers and cookies in the afternoon.
Leading to?
It was contributing to some weight gain and making it harder for her to manage her blood sugar levels.
So what did she change?
She switched her afternoon snack. Instead of the crackers and cookies, she started having just a few slices of cheddar cheese, maybe with some cucumber slices.
Simple swap again. The result?
The source reports her cravings just disappeared. She felt satisfied, didn't feel deprived at all. And at her next doctor's appointment, her doctor noted she wasn't gaining weight anymore. All achieved, they say, without feeling guilty or needing extra pills.
That's pretty powerful for just changing a snack.
It illustrates the point well. And the practical tip for incorporating cheese: maybe start with hard cheeses, things like Parmesan, Swiss, aged cheddar. Aim for a small portion, say 1 or 2 ounces. Pair it with something like sliced veggies or olives. Oh, and they also mentioned that aged cheeses tend to be easier to digest for people who might have some lactose sensitivity.
Okay, so if you're listening and looking for a snack that's genuinely satisfying, gives you nutrients like calcium, and helps manage those afternoon cravings without sugar, this source suggests maybe reconsidering cheese. It could be a smart, low-carb, low-sugar option that also helps your bones.
So wrapping up, we've taken this deep dive into these 8 specific foods highlighted by the source, Healthy Aging Hub. Their whole perspective is that these foods, because they're low in carbs and sugar, but packed with essential nutrients, can be really supportive for staying strong, energized, and independent, particularly after age 60.
Yeah, the core message that seemed to run through all of this is that making positive changes doesn't have to be overwhelming. Things like aiming to avoid those big blood sugar spikes, maybe reducing inflammation, or just feeling better day to day. It can start with really small, realistic steps, like swapping just one high-carb food you regularly eat for one of these better options from the list.
Exactly. Small swaps, consistent effort. And, of course, as the source strongly emphasizes, and it's always good advice, check with your doctor before making any big changes to your diet, especially if you're already managing health conditions like diabetes or high blood pressure.
Definitely. Now, the source did kind of leave us hanging with a little teaser at the very end, didn't they?
We did.
Hinting that even if you focus on adding all these beneficial foods, there might be one common mistake you could be making that's quietly undoing all your good work.
Right, which suggests the picture is maybe a bit more nuanced than just adding the good stuff and avoiding the bad.
Exactly, which leaves us, and you, with this final thought to maybe ponder. What seemingly harmless habit, or maybe a food choice you currently think is perfectly fine, might actually be working against your efforts to stay healthy, energetic, and independent as you continue to age.